Good evening. My name's Bob Connors. It's 7 p.m. and I'd like to call the November 15th meeting of the Newbury Conservation Commission to order. Sam, can you read the remote open meeting law preamble? Take a roll call vote of the members present.
Yes, Dan just came in.
Well, geez, how could I forget Dan? Gee, that's it.
I was wondering.
So there we go. All right.
Good evening, Dan.
So, all right. As a preliminary matter, my name is Samantha Holt, Town Staff Conservation Agent for the Newbury Conservation Commission. Permit me to confirm that all members are present and can hear me. Conservation Commission members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Bob Connors?
Yes.
Brad is not here. Dan Streeter? Can you hear me, Dan?
Dan seems to still be connecting.
He is here, but looks like his audio's having some trouble. Diane O'Brien?
Yeah.
Mary Rimmer?
Yep.
Pete Pecos?
Hello.
And TJ is not here. All right, good evening. This November 15th, 2022 open meeting of the Newbury Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with the act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, which extends the governor's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law until March 31st, 2023. This order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location and allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with deliberations of the meeting. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that attendees are participating by video and/or telephone conference, and the recording will be available on the Newbury Access YouTube channel. Meeting materials were provided to the commission members prior to the meeting for review and were posted to the Conservation Commission webpage for public access. And there is TJ.
Oh.
There we go.
Oh, okay, great.
I'm just gonna make sure that he can. Where'd TJ go? All right, can you hear me, TJ? Yes, no, maybe?
We can see him. We can see you, TJ.
All right, we will keep moving along. Before we turn to the first item on the agenda, permit me to confirm some ground rules for effective and clear conduct for our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. The chair will introduce each speaker on the agenda. Proponents will be given 10 minutes to present. More time may be allowed at the discretion of the chair. After they conclude their remarks, we will go down the list of commission members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, for all attendees except commission members and staff, please remember to mute your computer using the mute button or your phone using *6 to toggle mute and unmute when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. Please be aware that video participants can see you and that you should take care not to screen share your computer unless you have been allowed to do so. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. For any response, please wait until the floor is yielded to you and state your name before speaking. If commission members wish to engage in discussion with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself when you wish to speak. There will be an opportunity for public comment and questions during public hearings. After commission members have spoken, we will afford the public an opportunity to comment and/or ask questions as follows. I will seek questions and comments at the appropriate time through the Zoom raise hand function. For video conference participants, to raise your hand, hover over the bottom of the Zoom window below the photo gallery and click on the yellow hand that appears. If you don't see a yellow hand, click on the participants button. A list of participants will open and display on the right. At the bottom of this participant area, you will see an option to click on a raised hand function. Please ensure your name is fully and correctly displayed on the participant list. You may rename yourself using the More function next to your name. For telephone participants, to raise your hand in a Zoom meeting, hit *9 on your phone's keypad. We will then allow questions and comments from members of the public who have raised their hands in the order in which they appear listed on my screen based on when the function was selected. Each participant will be called upon to provide his or her name and address or affiliation and will be afforded 3 minutes to make comments. More time may be allowed at the discretion of the chair. The proponent or commission members will have the opportunity to reply as needed. Your hand will be lowered when you have been given the floor for your questions. We will then continue down the list of those in the raised hand column and again afford time for responses as needed. All participants are reminded that only matters which fall in the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission may be discussed. The chat feature has been disabled for this meeting, and everyone is expected to conduct themselves in the same manner that they would in an in-person meeting. Any disruptions will be addressed once by the chair and should be acknowledged by the disruptor. Any further disruptions will result in complete removal from the meeting with no readmittance. Vulgar or obscene actions or comments will result in immediate removal from the meeting with no readmittance. And finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. And I don't know where TJ went, but he's gone.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Sam. All right. Upcoming meeting dates. Our next meeting is December 6th, 2022, and tentatively December 20th, 2022. But that's open for discussion. Team, at our last meeting, we were talking about looking at reducing the December, January meetings to one meeting a month. So why don't I stop there and see what the pleasure is of the commission? Do we want to consider canceling the December 20th meeting? Mary, any thoughts on that?
I would love to cancel that meeting.
I kind of know all the answers to these questions, by the way.
It seems to make the most sense,
Yeah.
just in case it's any tell for what later in the month is going to be like. Today was the deadline for submittals for the December 6th meeting, and I haven't received anything new. We still have to have the meeting on the 6th because we have some stuff that's already been continued to that date, but I've gotten nothing new for that.
Okay.
So
Thank you, Tim. Pete, any pushback on canceling a meeting?
No pushback.
All right, thanks, Pete. Brad is not here. Dan, any concerns about canceling?
Sounds good.
Okay. TJ is somewhere.
he hasn't come back in yet.
Okay. Diane, any comments on canceling?
Well, if everyone else wants to cancel it, I guess I'll have to go along with
Yes,
that.
don't be the party pooper on this one. Okay. And I agree. Sam had recommended that we cancel it. So why don't we take an official vote on this? All those in favor of canceling the December 20th meeting, say aye. Roll call. Mary?
Aye.
Pete?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes as well. Okay. All right. First matter before the commission. Meeting minutes. Approval of the minutes for the November 1st, 2022 meeting. Are there any comments, concerns, or corrections to the draft minutes as presented? All right. Hearing no questions from the members, is there a motion to approve the minutes as written?
There's a motion.
Second.
Second?
Okay, roll call vote. All in favor say aye. Mary?
Yes.
Pete?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you. Sam, let me know when TJ comes back in, just so I don't.
He did just come back in, but I
And
don't.
he just dropped out.
know.
Okay. All right. Certificates of compliance for 1416 12th Street, also known as 3 Sandy Way, for work to construct a new house on pilings. Sam, can you give us a quick overview on this? Certainly, we discussed this pretty well last meeting.
Yeah, so this one was kind of one of the strange ones. This is one of the files that unfortunately had to be destroyed. It was damaged in flooding, so we don't have anything except for the original order of conditions. Based off of discussions that I had with the homeowner, who was the owner at the time that the work was done as well, there wasn't really anything super special about it. There wasn't anything that really stood out. They did have some like erosion controls and stuff for a kind of weird isolated wetland pocket across the street. And as far as we are aware, there weren't any issues with that. There was a condition for 75% survivability of the mitigation plantings, but unfortunately we have nothing really to compare that to. But as far as I can tell from going out and doing the site walk with Christine, the vegetation has come up pretty well. Everything looks pretty good. Some vegetation is coming in underneath the house, but not really a lot, which isn't particularly out of the ordinary because no sun gets underneath people's houses. So, but based off of the information that we do have and discussing it with the homeowner, my recommendation would be to issue a complete certificate for that.
Okay. Questions from the members? Mary, any questions for Sam on this one?
No, I did a drive-by today, and so I would be familiar with where the house is, and it looks pretty straightforward. There is vegetation growing around the house, not under it. There's quite a bit of storage of things underneath the house. But other than that, I didn't have any comments.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Pete, any comments on this one?
No questions.
Okay. Dan, any comments for Sam on this one?
No.
Thank you. TJ, welcome back.
Good to be back.
TJ, we're on 3 Sandy Way.
Yep, I'm up to speed.
Okay. Any questions for Sam on this one?
No, I walked by it earlier in the week. I'm all set.
Okay. Diane, any questions on this one?
No.
Okay, and the chair has no questions. All right. Hearing no further questions, is there a motion to approve the certificate of compliance for 1416 12th Street, aka 3 Sandy Way?
So moved.
And we have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. All in favor, say aye. TJ?
Aye.
Pete?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
All right, and the chair votes yes as well. All right. So next matter, if you recall, team, at last meeting, we had a discussion at the end of our meeting regarding the special permit application review for 1 Marshmeadow Lane. I attended the 11/7/22 Select Board public hearing. At that time, it appears that the proposed activities will be outside the conservation restriction areas and wetlands. The Select Board and Planning Board have requested a more detailed site plan to ascertain the scope and impact of proposed activities. A draft recommendation to the Select Board, according to the bylaw, is in the Dropbox for all your review. The draft has been reviewed by Town Council, Town Administrator, Mary, and thank you, Mary, for taking the time to discuss that with me and myself. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at it? It's basically that if we have jurisdictional issues, whether it be the conservation restriction or the WPA, it was the next steps that should be considered. Certainly, the applicant's required to come back to us independently of the special permit on any jurisdictional matters. So has everyone had a chance to take a review of that? Because what I'd like to do is release that tonight if it meets everybody's approval.
I read it. Yeah, I approve of it.
Okay. Mary, are you okay with it, Mary?
Yes.
Okay. Pete, have you had a chance to look at it?
So I should probably recuse myself from the.
Oh, yeah,
voting
that's right.
aspect. Yep.
Yep. Okay. Dan?
The letter looked good to me. I don't know that we've actually seen a plan of exactly what's going to happen, though, and hopefully that will be forthcoming.
Yeah, I think that was the whole intent of the letter, Dan, to have a broad brush of issues that we may have jurisdiction on, but we don't have enough information to make any determinations as of yet.
Right.
Thank you, Dan. TJ, any comments?
No, all set.
Okay. Diane, how about yourself?
No, I approved of it.
Okay. Well, why don't we do this? Do we have a motion to issue the letter of recommendation to the Select Board and the associated other committees or boards that are entitled to notice?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote. Mary?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
TJ?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Okay,
Bob, can
Okay.
you do me a favor?
yes,
When you, or if you're gonna email that to Tracy and Julie and whoever else needs to get it, can you copy me on that so I can have the final version? Because the one that you sent does say draft on it. I want to make sure that I have a final version for.
okay, yeah, you know
My
what
files.
what I'll do, Sam, is, I think that's in Word format. If not, I'll send it to you and then you can just send it out to the appropriate.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, that'd be
That
great.
works too.
Okay, thank you, Sam. Okay, moving on. Let's see here.
It is 7:16, so we're good.
Good. Okay. So, request for determination of applicability. 3 Sandy Way for work to enclose the underside of an existing home raised on pilings. Sam, can you give us a quick overview on this project?
Yes, so this was for a proposal to enclose underneath the house. The house is currently raised on pilings. The number one issue from our last meeting was that there was an outstanding order of conditions, which we have now closed the beginning of the meeting. So that is all set. So now we just need to deal with the enclosure underneath the house.
Okay. As I recall, Tim, we talked about this at length last meeting, and I think the way we left it was that the applicant was going to enclose the underside of the dwelling to above 2 feet above grade, and then she could either put a lattice or some other type of barrier that would allow the transition of sand. It actually acts as a flood vent as well. Why don't I stop there and go around and see what we have for questions? Mary, any questions on that, or what's your recollection on this?
You're muted, Mary.
I thought we had to keep it 2 feet clear above
It-
grade.
2 feet, the solid surface can go 2 feet. It can be lattice the last 2 feet,
Okay,
or 50% allows sand migration.
okay. So this, these plans show, it looks like solid for the full length.
There is a note down on the bottom.
That says that or some other version, yes. Approved. In the alternative, there's vinyl to ground if allowable or lattice at the bottom. Okay. So I would just say that for the record, I'm fine with this in issuing a determination, but that we just get a plan that provides a clear notation of what is allowed so that this doesn't get passed on to a contractor. That the bottom 2 feet above grade need to be at least 50% open. Is that correct? Lattice at 50% open?
Correct.
Okay, so I just, because right now the record shows something that's other than, I think, what we are likely to approve. So I'd find approving it contingent on getting an updated plan showing the corrected dimensions of this enclosure.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Pete, any comments on this one?
Same comment. Thanks.
Okay. Dan, any comments?
Ditto.
TJ,
No comment.
Diane?
Just for clarification, Mary, are you saying that a whole new plan or just another sketch that shows, just so we're clear on what we're looking for?
They can use the same figures and just, notate it by hand that the bottom 2 feet to be lattice only or something. So we have that in the record and they understand and it's clear.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing here is they need to pull the permit to do this, and the state building code actually
It's gonna require it.
won't allow it to go below 2 feet and lattice or 50% rule there
Okay.
down. So may I make a suggestion? Sam, can you just make a notation on this?
On the plan.
Well, either on the plan or on the RDA.
Well, you can attach the plan with the notations to it.
There
That
you
would
go.
be helpful too. Okay, we can do it that way.
Okay,
And that, just to make sure that doesn't need to come back in. We don't need to continue this to December. We can,
correct.
okay, just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I mean, that would seem to be,
Okay,
Peter should be enforcing this at the building level too.
right.
Stop
You know,
alarm.
the way we used to deal with this was if at an in-person meeting was
Right.
the applicant would scribble whatever needed to be put on there, initial it, date it, and that was, you know, provided enough trail for the
Okay.
record.
So Christine, if it would work for you, we can do that. I can have you come in, or I can meet you out on site, and we can, just have you write it and sign it and date it, just so that
I-
there's something on the
Sam,
record. that-
I'm gonna make a suggestion. I think if Christine sent an email to your attention referencing the plan with that notation.
That
and
works.
it's from her to you. I think again, Peter should be enforcing this at the building department, and something tells me you're gonna remind him.
Yes,
So if that's fine with everybody,
It's right
just
over
using an email to memorialize that, and
okay.
we can move on if that's okay. All right.
A motion?
Yes, do we have a motion?
There you have it.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second,
Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Mary?
I think we're issuing a negative determination, negative,
Negative
Three?
3, right.
yes,
Yep. Okay.
-2.
-2 because it's in the resource.
Oh, that's
Yes.
right.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Pete?
Yes.
Can I make
Yeah.
a comment, Mr. Chairman?
That is Steve.
Steve,
Mangan.
we're in the middle of a vote, Steve. Dan?
Yes,
PJ?
Yes.
Diane?
yes,
And the chair votes yes. Yeah, Steve, the RDAs are not a public hearing.
Okay, the way I read the agenda, this was a public meeting where people could comment on a project that generally I'm supportive of, I might add.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right,
no,
right.
it's on RDAs. Sam, if you want to recite.
Right, so under the regulations, under the WPA regulations, a RDA falls under a public meeting. It has to be advertised as a public meeting. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's open to public comment because it is not a hearing.
So that's just the 7:15 agenda items.
Yeah.
Right. If you do have any questions about it, Steve, and you want to give me a call tomorrow, we can talk about it.
And I will, but I also just wanted to say that I'm supportive of the decision that was just made, but I did have something else I wanted to offer to the commission. But I will talk to you, Sam, tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Okay, moving on, we have 18 10th Street for work to resurface the existing driveway. Sam, can you provide an overview on this?
Yes. So this is for, sorry, I'm a little bit behind now. So Mr. Shapiro is looking to resurface his driveway. Currently, he's got a stone and sand driveway. It looks like at one point it was probably gravel surfaced, and just sand has sort of migrated and shown up there. So he is looking to resurface. So this is the driveway. This right about here at the bottom of the picture is the very end of the driveway, at least as far as what is kind of alternatively surfaced as opposed to like the pavement and everything. So this is the area that he's looking to resurface, and he is looking to use these pavers. These pavers were actually originally, this is out behind his house, inside the fencing in here. This is a patio underneath a deck that was also just resurfaced in kind, with the same or similar similar pavers. So he just has these pavers now that are kind of sitting there, and he would like to replace the gravel out here with those pavers, which would just include like some grading and everything to level everything off. And he is here. He did call in to the meeting if anybody has any questions for Mr. Shapiro.
Okay. So Sam, my question is, the pavers he wants to use, are those in addition, those are the replacement pavers of the ones that he installed under his deck? Or is he eliminating
these
those?
pavers, so these pavers are what was there. These were replaced with similar pavers, slightly bigger, in the same space, in the same footprint and everything. So he just removed all of these pavers and would like to relocate them into the driveway.
So he would like to expand the footprint of pavers on his property
Yeah,
because those are
right, yeah, so he
that
would,
area
so
is
he
the
would
only
be,
area that exists now, and he would like to utilize the replacements and expand
In
his
here.
footprint. Okay.
so he's not expanding the footprint of the patio that's existing back here. That's all been, these pavers have all been replaced. He just wants to move those pavers into the driveway. So he would be expanding the paver
Yeah.
footprint. This is in zone X though, so the floodplain is not an issue here.
Okay. Okay. Mary, any questions on this one?
So I am not in favor of pavers on the barrier beach. They don't meet the dune performance standards. So I would be in favor of other surfaces that would meet dune performance standards, stone dust, clamshell, other surfaces like that, but the pavers don't meet that standard.
Okay. Thank you, Mary. Pete, any comments on this one?
I'm following the information that was just shared, which I think is important.
Okay. Thank you, Pete. Dan, any comments?
Yeah, I mean, the question of pavers in general is one that, I think needs some thought, some additional thought, but in this case where it's in zone X and already in a driveway form, I'm not totally opposed to it. What I am feeling is that, it was unclear to me exactly where the work was going to take place. There's this picture, but I would just again encourage the applicant to make it quite clear the area. Just draw a box on one of those aerial photographs. Give us some square footage of the area involved. I think we need more specific information, even in these RDA applications.
Okay. Thank you, Dan. I think all good points. TJ, your thoughts?
So if it's, just to make sure I understand it correctly, the pavers in the back have already been replaced with larger pavers. Those pavers that were there were pulled up and they want to put them in the driveway.
Correct.
Okay, so how much of the driveway will those pavers cover, and will it go past the driveway, or is it just 2 strips? Or it didn't look like there was enough pavers there to do this whole driveway, unless it's visually off to me. But I guess I'm agreeing with Dan. I don't have enough information to know exactly how much they're paving or putting the pavers down, or what it's.
Okay. No, I think that was Dan's point, TJ,
Yeah.
to give a little more information so you can make a
Yep.
determination. Anything else, TJ?
No, that's it.
Okay. Thank you, TJ. Diane, any questions on this one?
No, I mean, my thought when looking at it was the fact that, I mean, it's already cleared, so it's not like he's going to be infringing on anything else that we could see. But I also had the question of, when Sam was explaining, those pavers aren't going to cover that entire driveway. So what else is going to be involved? Is he getting more pavers?
Yeah, I think that all reverts back to Dan's comment about what are the existing square footage of the patio that he wants to basically duplicate in this driveway in the location? Is it going to be tight to the garage door coming out 20 feet? So, but I think that's why Dan's point is, I think, is a very good one. And I agree with Dan as well, as I think we need some more information on this one, Sam.
Okay.
What's your thoughts, Sam?
I mean, I wasn't overly concerned about it right off the bat. From being out there, I just off of like a visual estimate, I believe that the amount of pavers that are here, I think you guys are right. Looking at it in the picture, it doesn't quite look like it would, but from seeing it out there, I think that the amount of pavers that are here would be about the same as the size of the driveway. If not, this space might actually be a little bit more, might be a little bit bigger than the area of the driveway. And again, that's just based off of a very rough visual that I got when I was out there. But I mean, I didn't really have any concerns about too much of it. There wouldn't really be, there's some like kind of scrubby little grass bits in the center, but not really anything super exciting. There is dune grass if you look kind of up more to the right of what's in this picture. But for the most part, everything out in here is open gravel, sand, and stuff like that.
Okay, is Mr. Shapiro on? Is it Mr. Shapiro? Is that the gentleman's name?
He is.
Does he want to add any comment?
Yeah, Jerry, if you have anything you want to say, you can unmute. I believe it's *6 to unmute on your phone. There you are.
How's that? Everyone hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Hi, thank you very much. Hi, I'm Jerry Shapiro. So if I could just clear a few things up, if I may. I want to first talk about the square footage in the driveway. So what I am proposing is to have the pavers cover from just in front of the garage to the end of the fence where the house number appears, which is 18. That's approximately 25 feet. And the width would be approximately 12 feet. So that would be 300 square feet. And I believe that what I have is far more than 300 square feet of pavers from the patio in the back. Its patio is quite long. It's at least 40 feet long. And it's at least 15 feet wide. So I believe I have ample pavers. And what I was preparing to do was to explain what would be done in the driveway, to talk about drainage. I have contracted someone to do this, and I went over it with him before this meeting. So if that's something that can help, I can let you know what the process is. However, I did want to first tell you about the approximate square footage, in that I believe I had enough pavers to cover the amount of territory that I wanted to cover in the driveway.
Okay. Yeah, I think if you heard Dan Streeter's comments, and I think many of us agree, what's helpful, Mr. Shapiro, is having this all spelled out on your plan. It doesn't have to be in great detail, but it needs to be sketched in with the square footage, so the commission can consider what you're proposing, and then it's part of the record.
Okay.
Okay. And if you want to go on and tell us what your process is, what you're thinking of doing,
Sure.
would
Sure.
be
So after
helpful.
Yeah, so after discussion with the company I contacted, who said this is pretty much commonplace, the procedure would have been digging down approximately 8 to 10 inches, closer to 8 to 9 inches, and then having a 3 to 4 inch base, which would be crushed stone mixed with stone dust, or just crushed stone if that is preferable. Above that, there would be a geogrid mesh to support the weight of an automobile, and then another 2 to 3 inches of the crushed stone mix and stone dust, or just the crushed stone. Then a 1/2 inch approximately of some sand or stone dust, which would be leveled. The pavers then would be installed, and then it would either be a poly sand to bind them together, or just some fine sand instead of the poly sand.
Okay. All right, team, any questions for Mr. Shapiro? Mary?
Yes, I'm trying to understand. So it sounds like there will need to be equipment, like a small bobcat or something to excavate and put in the stone. And I'm not sure how the pavers are getting to that area, if you're carrying them by hand or if you need equipment to access where the patio is to remove the existing pavers. And then also what happens to the patio area? Is that good? How is that being restored, or is what's happening in that area?
Well, the pavers are on pallets right now.
They're
and
just
they
on
would-
pallets. Okay.
Right, so I assume that, well, the distance from the patio to the garage area is fairly short. So I assume that they could do this by hand if they wanted to. I haven't had that discussion. However, carrying them would be a longer period of time, of course, but there would be a number of people there. But that would be a option.
And then what happens with the area where the pavers were? What are you going to be using that patio area for?
Well, I've already recovered it with larger pavers. I just took the old pavers off and put new pavers on.
And you're using the old pavers in the driveway. Okay, I'm sorry, I missed
Right,
that.
the pavers you see in the photograph are the pavers that have probably been there for 40 years.
Okay,
And those are the ones I want to use for the driveway.
okay. So we didn't have a filing for that reinstallation of.
Yeah, the patio out back, because it was being replaced in kind with similar or the same materials. I did a administrator approval for the replacement of the patio or the resurfacing of the patio, with conditions for, space between the pavers and everything, and that it had to be done in kind.
Okay.
And then when I talked to Jerry about doing this, I just, let him know that any of the, when the pavers get removed and stored, that they, couldn't be stored in the dune or anywhere on vegetation or anything like that.
Okay. So I just go back to my original comment that I don't think that work minimizes impact to the resource. The dune performance standards are meant to allow, waves to remove sand from the dune and not, you can't disturb vegetation. You have to not interfere with the lateral movement of sand and all that. But there are exceptions where there's already a house on the dune, and those exceptions allow certain, minor activities and structures, but you still have to minimize impacts. And so, it's just, I'm not comfortable setting a precedent that it's okay to start putting pavers in driveways on the island. I don't think that's a good idea. So I would not be in favor of this. And I also think that because this work is a little beyond what we would normally allow under an RDA, that I have concerns about that as well. But that's my take on it.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Pete, your
I have nothing.
comment?
Nothing additional, thanks.
Okay. Dan, your comment?
So, the paver question, I'm a little bit uncomfortable with that, but we heard that, there's quite a bit more excavation here than what I might have thought. I thought it might be skim, 4 inches out and put the pavers down and put some sand on it, and that would be it. But so this raises questions to me about the existing material that's in that area, where it's going to go, where the incoming material is going to be stored, and all those kinds of questions. So that kind of leaves me where Mary went, that this may require more involved filing. That's kind of where my head's at.
Okay, thank you, Dan. TJ, your comment?
Nothing further than they've already brought up.
Okay, and Diane, your comment?
No, I mean, honestly, I think, well, it depends if we're voting tonight or not. I might want to take another look at the Dune performance standards just to get a better feel for that, given the opportunity. But if not, then I don't have any questions right now.
Yeah, I think that if this was in a velocity zone, we would, I'd probably have a totally different view. I guess if it's not in the flood zone and it's a zone X, the department's policy is to consider all of Plum Island a barrier dune. But FEMA determines this to be a zone X, which is not in a floodplain. So I think at a minimum, Dan's original request for some additional information on square footage and location would need to be done. And Mary, you're thinking this really needs to come back as an NOI? Or Dan?
I mean,
Again,
either that or we need quite a bit of more information. Exact location, where the incoming material is going to be stockpiled, where the outgoing material, what's going to happen to that? Is that going to get removed from the island? Is it going to go somewhere else on the property? That, I mean, there's sort of a host of questions there.
Yeah, Mr. Shapiro, I think you're hearing, if you were just putting down it's similar material, stone, dust, crushed seashells or the like, you'd be all set. It just seems to be the expansion of the paver surface on the island raises the bar somewhat, and I think it's from experience from some of our members that how DEP will look at this, and certainly we don't want to have you go through an intervention with DEP or an appeal with DEP. But so what's
Well,
our
is there any-
pleasure? Go ahead, Mr. Shapiro.
Sorry about that. Is there anything I can do further? I mean, there are questions that you have. Is there any way I can get a list of the questions that you have and try to answer those to your satisfaction?
I think what's going to happen is at a minimum it'd have to be on your application and your plan as notation. So what I'm hearing tonight is Dan's original thoughts where we needed the square footage in relation to the driveway on the plan with a notation. I think Mary's raised concerns about dune performance and where you're really looking to excavate up to 12 inches of existing material and certainly replace it with other materials that raises a question of where will that be stockpiled? Is that going to be disposed off site, or is it going to be put someplace else on your property? So it's
Well, that would definitely be off-site, but I did not present that for tonight.
Well, any further discussion? Do we think that this is a viable RDA, or is it something that we need more information? Well, why don't we do this? Is there a motion to issue a negative determination for 18 10th Street? I would suggest we make a motion and second and then just vote accordingly, just to add discussion to it.
I'll move to
Okay.
issue a negative
Do we have
determination.
a
Second.
second? Okay, any further discussion before I take a roll call vote? Okay, all those in favor of issuing a negative determination, say aye. Mary?
no,
Pete?
No,
Dan?
No,
TJ?
No,
Diane?
No,
And the chair votes no. Mr. Shapiro, I think what you should do is, if you want to proceed with your thought of reusing your pavers, that it should come back before us as a notice of intent.
So that means we need to issue a
Positive,
positive
right,
determination or withdraw. Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
All right,
Okay.
do we have a motion to issue a positive determination for 18 10th Street?
So move.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Mary?
Aye.
Pete?
Yes.
Ann?
yes,
TJ?
Aye.
Diane?
Yes.
And the chair votes aye. Sam, if you could assist Mr. Shapiro on what the next steps are. It becomes a high bar, though, I think, to add pavers to an existing site, because it
Right.
just wouldn't be allowed. Replacing what you have is more by right. Expanding it is where the rub comes in. Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Next matter, continued public hearing. 26 Northern Boulevard for work to construct an upward expansion on an existing structure. Sam, could you give us a quick overview on this?
Yes, so this is Dave Mullen. We did get a new plan in from Tom, and I just opened up the wrong one. So they revised the plans, and I got them from Tom yesterday. I'll bring them up right now. Actually, was that yesterday or was that last week? Must have been last week. So these are the new plans that we have. They were revised to show the boardwalk that was looking to be replaced is going to remain as is, with just basically resurfacing. So they're just going to replace the boards, but they're going to leave the entire footprint as it is. The only thing that's going to be expanding is going to be the deck off the side of the house that I think is like 8 feet off the ground. So they're going to expand that to get better access through the door over here. But the entire boardwalk is staying as it is as far as footprint goes. They are doing some dune grass mitigation or planting mitigation with dune grass. So they have a total of 45 square feet of expanded footprint off the deck right here. They're doing 88 square feet of dune grass restoration. And that is, I believe, everything new that we have for that one.
Okay. Is Tom, do you want to add any? Is Tom representing Mr. Mullen
Yeah.
on this?
Yes. Yes, I am. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sam just pretty much summarized it. We've really simplified the project substantially. We expect is just resurfacing the boards, but as you know, when you take off the deck boards, if there's some lumber underneath that needs to be patched or replaced, that would happen. But we don't envision, major structural replacement or anything like that. The deck expansion is substantially up in the air. I could show you some pictures of that deck, but it's currently got a sag to it. It's supported currently on some concrete blocks that don't appear to go very deep into the ground, and I think they've just settled. So the expanded deck, which is significantly up in the air, you can kind of see it's up above elevation 24. It's at 24.2. You can see on that label there. The deck expansion will be supported with helical piles. So it's a structural improvement. It also gets rid of sag in the deck. There's quite an angle to the deck near the front of the house, and that will be squared off and really much more functional for the applicant. And we're replicating, even though within that 45 square feet, it's not all over existing vegetation. Some of that is not vegetated, as where the propane tanks are and all that. So I think we're providing a good mitigation program for our impacts. And And it's a much simpler project than was originally presented to you. We tried to incorporate all your feedback from the last hearing.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, questions from the members. Mary, any questions for Tom on this project?
No, thanks, Tom, for clarifying this. It does seem to be a better project and much more straightforward. I did note that we have a file number, but DEP is still waiting for plans. At least that's what it says on the website.
Yeah, that was this plan.
Yeah, and Mary, I think as you know, sometimes they do things like they'll write, waiting for fee or waiting for whatever.
And they don't clear it up. Yep, okay.
Right, they never removed the note. I did email a copy to DEP and I put a hard copy in the mail. I never got an analyst's name. I tried to reach out to Jim at DEP. I never got a name. So it's been sent in, but I'm now comfortable that this is just so simple.
Okay.
I don't
didn't know if you
imagine.
wanted to keep it open for any reason until you got the resolution.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can't imagine that we could downsize the project any further than what we've done.
Right. So
So-
I, provided that all measures are taken to protect the existing vegetation during construction, I'm comfortable with this.
Yeah, and anything damaged would be replaced in kind.
Thank you, Mary. Pete, any questions for Tom on this one?
No questions, thanks.
Thank you, Pete. Dan, any questions for Tom on this project?
No, sir.
Thank you, Dan.
That's it.
TJ, how about yourself? Okay, Diane, any questions for
No.
Tom? I have no questions. Sam, are there any raised hands from the public at this time?
I do not see any.
Okay. Do any members have requests for additional information or plan amendment or adding additional content? Hearing none, do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved?
Second,
Second. Okay, roll call vote. All those in favor say aye. TJ?
aye,
Pete?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes,
Mary?
Yes.
Diane? And the chair
Yes.
votes yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, well, we still gotta consider the.
Can
the
I make one quick note before we do any of that? So
Yeah.
we did have the letter from Natural Heritage. This had to get filed through Natural Heritage because it's in priority habitat. The recommendation that Natural Heritage made for a condition was that any work done between certain dates for the nesting periods for the shorebirds, they would need to get in touch with a shorebird monitor to have somebody go out and monitor it. So we just make sure that we add that in as a
As
special.
one of-
condition.
Okay. Okay. Do we have a motion to approve this project with the usual conditions and the attachment of the shorebird monitor?
so moved.
Okay, do we have a second? Okay, all those in favor say aye. TJ?
Aye,
Pete?
Yes.
Dan?
yes,
Mary?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Okay, and the chair votes yes.
Thank you, and have a great night.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Mr. Mullen.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So that takes us down to 140R Main Street, and Sam, I think that's been continued.
Yes, Rob requested a continuance for this to the December 6th meeting.
Okay.
If we don't have a file number before the meeting, then we may just have to continue it again because they need to get, this will have comments. I would think.
Yeah, so when I discussed this with Rob, when we talked about it, he is planning on waiting until he has everything done with all of the other departments. He's in the middle of trying to deal with the fire department, police department, planning board. He's gonna get everything dealt with them first and then come back to us when he is totally ready with everyone else and has a file number. So he is aware of that. And we are in contact with somebody in DEP to get that figured out.
Yeah, it's,
Taking a while.
yeah, what's the feedback been, Sam? I'm just curious that, I mean, this is going on probably
Honestly,
90
I have
90
no
days.
idea. At first, it was an issue with the check. For some reason, the check either didn't get to where it was supposed to go, or it just didn't clear or something. They sent in a new one. That one cleared. The next time we talked about it, there was a discussion that the application went through under the town name Byfield because that's where it is. And they thought that maybe that held it up on the internal system, which doesn't make any sense because when it went through their internal wire system and into the DEP data portal, it came through as Newberry. So now we're in contact with somebody at DEP from, I believe she's in the finance department, or finance office for them, trying to get this all worked out. And she actually emailed us today and let us know that she was still working on it and still looking into it. So hopefully we'll get that figured out soon.
All right, so new public hearing started at 8 o'clock. We have a couple of minutes.
We need
I
to
make a
continue.
motion to, I make a motion to continue the public hearing for 140R Main Street.
Okay, that's
Second,
Till December 6th or
December 6th.
okay. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Mary,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes,
TJ,
yes.
Diane,
yes.
and the chair votes yes. Okay.
A little bit of downtime. I'm gonna start bringing up some files.
Sam,
Since
how
I
we-
was a little late, I didn't hear what we said on the December 20th meeting.
We're gonna cancel it.
Okay,
everyone but you have to still attend, TJ.
I'll
'cause
be there.
You didn't vote to
Just gonna be
cancel
me and you,
it,
TJ.
Yep, okay. We're gonna get a lot done, Samantha, don't worry.
so.
Yeah, so the whole reason behind that, the planning board, actually, they were discussing that. Martha was discussing that with the planning board chair. And they actually ended up deciding to condense their 2 meetings for December, and they're having them in the middle. So they meet Wednesday, the day after us. So they are condensing it to that in-between week and having 1 meeting. Unfortunately, we can't do that unless we wanted to have 2 meetings in a row, which I don't think any of us want to do. So that was kind of a little bit following suit with what the planning board was doing, just to make it a little bit easier, especially since it's Christmas week and a lot of people are going to be traveling and doing all kinds of other fun things.
Yep, no, that's perfect.
Certainly. Okay, Sam, what time do you have?
I have 7:59, but I do see the representatives for 92 Northern if we want to talk real slow to get that one opened up.
Well, you know what? Why don't we just wait till it says 8 o'clock and hence afford everyone an opportunity. See, we're just a very efficient team, and which is
so
a
we have
credit to everybody.
Ian is thought I saw, oh, there you are. I knew I saw you in there somewhere, Matt.
Okay, it's 8 p.m. New public hearings at 92 Northern Boulevard for work to expand the existing deck. Sam, can you provide a project overview on this matter?
Yes, so this is there's an existing deck on the property right now. I believe it's at 12 by 12 at the moment, and they are looking to expand it to 24 by 12. So they're looking to extend it 12 feet out towards the beach. It is in priority habitat area. I believe it's already in it, or at least a portion of the deck is already in priority habitat. Yes, it is. The very end portion is already in priority habitat, so they're extending further into it. They did send the application into Natural Heritage. Unfortunately, we have not heard back from them yet. So regardless of anything, we will have to continue this to the 6th pending getting the natural heritage letter. And I can bring up the plans. So this is the map of the site. That is the project location. This is the priority habitat barrier. It is in the velocity zone. So as you can see, a part of the deck and the stairs going out to the beach is right in the priority habitat delineation. They're extending it out. I think it's gonna go out to about like right here-ish. And I think I have some pictures of the deck as well. So it is gonna involve some disturbance in the dune vegetation as well, right out in front of it. And we have Jan Oliveira, where'd you go?
I'm right here.
As the representative, and we also have Matt Firm, who is the property owner.
Okay, well, why don't we open this up to questions? Mary, do you have any questions?
I have questions about how the structure will be supported. What are we using for piles to support this? I didn't see the plan.
I can explain that. I don't know if
Okay,
Go
y'all,
ahead.
you go ahead.
I don't know if
Go
y'all can hear me. Can y'all hear me?
ahead.
Yes.
we can.
Yes.
All right, fantastic. So my name is Jan. I'm the owner of Pro Warrior Construction. And the way I planned on supporting this deck, considering the location, I was gonna use what's called diamond piers. They're a lot less invasive to any environments. It does not require any digging whatsoever. It was actually created to be used in situations like this, in this type of soil, or places where you can't be too invasive with the location. So that's the plan. The deck currently is 24 by 12, 24 wide, going across the width of the house. Only 12 feet coming out, so we were planning to extend just another 12 feet. So it wouldn't require that many more diamond piers for support, as they're only required every 8 feet going across. So the most we should need for this application is about 3 of them. So not very, won't be very invasive to the land.
So if you wouldn't, since we do have to continue this to the December 6th meeting, if you would, I would suggest adding to this plan a construction detail showing a profile of the, so we know how high it is above grade and how many piers and what the type of piers are. So just a more detailed construction of the structure itself is my first comment. And the second is that there certainly will be impact to additional vegetation from this, dune vegetation from this work. And so I'm wondering whether there's any place else on the site where you might be able to do some mitigation plantings to either remove a structure or plant in an area that's not currently vegetated as in exchange for this.
So I don't know how to answer that question. If there's somewhere else in the property that we can add more vegetation, because the property is very narrow. And to be honest with you, the only part that I don't think there is vegetation as it is the front of the house where the parking is.
Mm-hmm.
To answer your question, so there's pretty much vegetation all the way around, as it is right now. But also to answer your question very quickly on the diamond piers, they only stick out about 6 inches out of the ground. They don't stick out high. They're only about 6 inches.
Right. So we would want the structure to be elevated at least 2 feet above grade. So that's what we're hoping to be able to see. And it looks like because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 steps up to your deck now, that it would meet that requirement. So I assume it's going to be the same elevation as the existing deck.
It would be the same elevation.
But I don't know if the dune rises up as you go towards the water right there, or if it's about relatively flat?
It's somewhat flat. It does have a little bit of a rise as you go up further.
Yeah.
It does have a little bit of a rise, but we're going up so little. We're going up, if you think, whenever you think 12 feet, you may think that
Yeah,
that
Not
seems
very
like a
much, right?
big
Yes.
amount, but it's not very much. you know?
Right, so as long as you maintain that 2-foot clearance is what we'd be looking for, but I would request additional detail on the design.
Yep, there will be, because what happens is I can certainly add all that. I can add the details and put that all together. That's not a big deal, easy enough. But
Right.
there will be a minimum of a 2 feet clearance, because the diamond pier, they only stick out about 6 inches off the ground. But on top of the diamond piers, there are posts that will go, so that way there will still be that 2 feet clearance. So that'll remain the same.
Great, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, anything else, Mary?
That's all, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Pete, any questions?
This is a question regarding stairs. Is the intention to have stairs at the end of the deck, or there will be no stairs?
Yes, sir. The intention is to have stairs.
So that's not shown on the plan, so that would need to be shown on the plan.
I think are they
Um,
shown there
uh,
as coming down
they're-
from the
they're
new
in the-
extension?
The stairs are going to stay where they are.
Right.
So we're not moving the stairs.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Dan, any questions on this one?
No, I think Mary raised most of my concerns. Yeah, it's a dune performance standard question here, and the vegetative mitigation, I think, is quite important in this V zone area. Good.
Anything else, Dan?
Nope.
Okay, TJ, any questions on this project?
Not right now. I'm just doing some research on Diamond Pier and figure that out when the rest of the information comes in.
Yeah, it's a pretty common thing. I think, Diane, you may have them at your own house.
I do.
So our learned attorney could tell us all about diamond piers.
They're good.
Yeah. Those diamond piers, they're pretty awesome. To be honest with you, we don't use concrete sonotubes anymore. They make too much of a mess. You got to dig too much of a hole. And the diamond piers, they just perform way better, and it's a lot easier to use and doesn't disturb the soil much. So, yeah, diamond piers is the way to go for sure.
Okay, Diane, any questions on this?
Just one. I mean, if you're going to be coming back with more details, I mean, I can't see from the picture beyond the 12 feet. So if you extend the deck 12 feet, how far out does the dune continue? Would you be able to put more dune grass out in front of the new deck or the expansion on the deck?
We could. So if I had to guess how much further it goes, I'd say, and Matthew, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'd say it probably goes for another 100 yards.
Yes.
Until for a long ways it goes. So if that was a requirement that we take some of the vegetation that gets disturbed and place it, in front of the new deck, that's not a problem at all. We can certainly do that because it's
Yeah, I might
the-
add that to your plan a little bit, just if you're coming back anyways, just show where the mitigation area would be.
sure.
That way it'll
So
be part of the
team,
plan.
if I could just interrupt, one, we need to go through the chair.
Oh.
But two, Matthew, what typically happens is when you are displacing existing dune grass, the commission and DEP is looking for you to replicate another area that may be thin. So if I know your lot, you're pretty well vegetated there, but
Yes.
It's-
So
if you got any blank spots, I think that's looking for replication of dune grass. So
on the left
there's no
side of the
net,
house,
well, exactly, no net
It is-
loss of
it's a
dune
little bit
grass.
sparse to the just where the
there you
house
go.
is. We could fill that in with what we take or plant new, it doesn't make a difference. But everything from where the current deck is all the way to the end of the property line, end of the dune, is heavily
Yeah.
dense. It's
Vegetated.
dense growth. So
So I think, as the commission has said, you're coming back. If you could just include where you'd be adding, replicating dune grass or putting in new dune grass, and those other details that Mary and Dana requested, I think that'd be very helpful.
yeah, happy to do that. Thank you.
Okay.
Sure, that's not a problem.
All right. So is there a request to continue this matter to the December 6th meeting?
So moved.
Okay, I think we need it from the.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Matt.
Matt, you have to confirm that. We can only do it with your consent, basically.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
you have to ask for a continuance, Matt.
Yes, may I have a
Okay.
continuance to the December 6th meeting?
Okay,
Absolutely.
we have a motion and a second. I'll do a roll call vote. All those in favor, say aye. TJ,
Aye.
Pete,
Yes.
Yes,
Mary,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Okay, thank you, Matt. We'll see you in December.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Next matter. Newman Road, Old Town Hill Reservation for work to construct an observation platform and access trail.
And Bob, I'll be abstaining on this, so I'm going to mute myself. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mary. All right, Sam, why don't you give us an overview? I know that the commission is familiar with this as the trustees had come in under an RDA. Why don't you give us a quick recap, and then whoever's going to present for the trustees, that they could take over from there.
All right. Yep. So if you recall, Josh came in with this for the trustees. They are looking to put a observation deck out on the edge of the marsh at Old Town Hill. They're also looking to construct a trail, a small trail to get access to that area. They came in with the RDA for it initially, and it was looking like it was going to be a little bit more than an RDA. So they are here with the notice of intent for that. And I will pass it over to Josh, and Russ Hopping is also here, just in case
Okay.
anybody has any questions about.
Well, good evening, Josh. If you just state your name and your title, that'd be great.
Josh Hassenfuss, the project manager for the trustees.
Okay.
So, yeah, thanks, Sam, for that. Do you want to pull up the plan or?
Yes. Give me 1 second. Let me get that up.
So based on the commission's feedback, we did create a site plan and also submitted a notice of intent submission for this. So we did get survey for the site, and we're looking at the site plan created off of that, from that survey. So you see the trail that's shown, existing trail. We did mow that to the 100-foot just to get the surveyor in, basically. So that's been mowed to the 100-foot buffer, and then you can see that trail creation there down to the platform site. So since this is in the floodplain, the engineer did create some grading here for the compensatory storage, and that's just created with some shaping of the treadway of the trail. So you can kind of see that start at what's shown as the 50-foot buffer just outside that. I think that's the number 13 contour. So right there. But basically the project hasn't changed. Aside from that, one significant change was we had initially proposed to do a ramp to access this platform, but the budget it didn't really make sense to do the ramp, so we've opted for some stairs here. So the overall size of the structure is reduced. And then you can see a significant erosion control line which is, you know, kind of, yeah, right there where the cursor is. But other than that, I think it's more or less the same project. If there's any questions, Russ and I can kind of go through them.
And we did, it falls in priority habitat as well, so they had to file with Natural Heritage. We did get a letter back from Natural Heritage today. They issued a no take with no recommended conditions. And that is in the Dropbox. We just got that this morning.
So Josh, if you could just enlighten us on the new 6-foot wide trail, what would be the surface finish? What's existing now, and what will be the finished surface, or what do you anticipate will be the surface there?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So I think, you know, outside the 100-foot, it will just be, you know, kind of that mowed material. We'll probably go through there with some leaf rakes and just kind of fine tune a little bit to get some of the roughness out, you know, the woody kind of grindings. And then, you know, beyond that, between the 100 and the 50-foot where there's no grading proposed, I think it'll just, you know, it'll definitely just be the natural duff material. You know, we'll go through and kind of hand pick, you know, sticks and stuff. And I think the 6-foot wide is more recommended for construction access. I think, you know, over time, this will be just intended to be a very narrow, you know, single track hiking trail, you know. But when we do the grading, I think what we'll do is we'll peel back the duff, you know, kind of windrow it to one side, do the light resurface, you know, the reshaping of that treadway, and then put the duff back. So the intention is to have it all naturalized, no import of stone dust or dense grade or anything like that.
Okay, thank you, Josh. Pete, do you have any questions for Josh on this project?
No, just sad to see the ramp go.
Okay, thank you. Dan, questions on this project?
Yeah, yeah, it all looks pretty good. I'm just sort of, I'm on my phone here tonight, and there's no point even trying to look at this drawing. What is the, two questions. What is the distance from the structure to the wetland line?
So the engineer had called this out at 5.7 feet at the nearest point, from the nearest flag to the nearest point.
Okay. And the second question, I can't see it, but where's the ACEC?
I believe it goes to
10.
elevation 10. Is
Yeah.
that?
Are we out of the ACEC?
No, we pretty much begin the structure at elevation 8. So we're between 8 and the structure's between 8 and 10, basically, or
Yeah.
7 and 10.
I mean, I don't really have any, you know, it's just something, I don't know what other people think about it, but it's of some concern, just new structures in the ACEC, but understanding the purpose of this, I don't know how you're going to avoid doing it, and I don't know what, if any, the impacts might be. How about vista pruning?
So we're not, so we've looked at that, and that's kind of why we're proposing to put it so close to the marsh, because, you know, if we go down lower into that elevation, you know, we gain we create a nice view that's, you know, more or less sustainable over time, we think. If we pull it back, you know, we're gonna have to likely get some vista pruning completed to get the view, and it kind of diminishing returns the more we pull it back. The idea is to feel like you're in the marsh without being in the marsh, you know.
Well, that's my questions, and again, I think they're just questions. I don't really, I mean, I have a pretty favorable view of the project. It's just, you know, sometimes those resource areas, ACEC or whatever, they should be on there maybe, but I don't, again, I think what you're trying to do here is there's not gonna be a significant impact, so I'm good.
You know, Dan, to your point, I think a site visit would be very, very helpful to all of us to process this. And I think to Josh's point, by keeping the platform in its current location, the tree line isn't going to impact what the intended use is versus having to keep maintaining the tree vista. But, anything else, Dan, before I move on?
No, I mean, I just, these guys are professionals.
Yeah,
You
no,
know, they're
certainly.
resource professionals, so I think they got a pretty good handle on what's going on.
Okay, thank you, Dan. TJ, your comments.
No, you just answered it about, how the site was picked and why it couldn't be a little further back. But I would like to do a site visit if everybody else feels the same way.
Yeah, I think I'd feel more comfortable. I think this is one of these favorable projects, but where its location, I think it's prudent to take a site walk and let Josh walk us through it, and I think we'll get to understand the full benefit of what they're trying to accomplish. TJ, anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, Diane, any questions for Josh?
Can't hear you, Diane. Oh, you're muted. Diane, we can't hear you.
Sorry. No, I was just saying that, the whole purpose of this is to bring people into the area. So it likely will have some sort of impact. I mean, I know, you're professionals and all, and it would be done correctly, I'm sure, but it just seems we're bringing people into this area that hasn't been disturbed yet. And my question, and I don't know if it's more of a discussion thing, was like, how much do we consider the public, like the purpose or the public benefit versus like if this was a homeowner that wanted to put a deck that close to the wetland, I don't think it would be looked upon favorably at all. So, I mean, I guess it's just more of a consideration in my own head. Didn't know if you had any comments on that.
Sam, let me ask you a question, Diane. Do you think a site visit would be helpful?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I haven't been out there where this is exactly. It just seems like it's like right on the wetland.
Yeah.
With no mitigation. I mean, there's really nothing you can do to mitigate, right?
Josh, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I mean, it is on the edge, it's 5.7 feet away. I think we would certainly be happy to mitigate with, buffer plantings. There's not a lot of understory there now, and there's, really going to be no take of vegetation, but I think we're certainly happy to create some buffer plantings,
Well, team, I think I'm going to suggest we schedule a site visit, and I think that's going to help us understand exactly what existing conditions are, and it will be the first one to see what this is going to look like when it's all done. But does a site visit sound good to everybody? Pete, does that make sense to you?
Sure.
Okay, thank you, Pete. Dan, how about a site visit work for you?
I'm always up for a walk.
Okay. TJ, how about yourself?
Yep.
Okay, Diane?
Yep.
Okay, so Josh, this would require you to continue this to our December 6th meeting. And what we'll do is schedule a site visit. If we can get out the weather report in our calendars, I think we can look at this.
So we do have 3 weeks until the next meeting, but we also have Thanksgiving coming up next week. So
yeah, I'm just looking at the weather. Thursday, the weather's 44 degrees. Monday, it gets a little frosty. Tuesdays, it's 44 degrees. How does next Tuesday work for Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock or 8:30? Does that work for everybody?
22nd?
Yeah, if that's what it is. I'm
That's
looking
fine
at,
for me.
I'm looking at the
8:30 would
weather.
be better.
Okay. So if we did a site visit 8:30 on Tuesday, the 22nd. And Sam, if you could just send us out a notice of the address of the meeting area. Josh, how does that work for your team?
Yeah, we'll accommodate whatever's good for the commission.
Okay. And so, Josh, I would suggest you request a continuance of the public hearing to our December 6th meeting.
I'd like to request a continuance to December 6th meeting.
Okay. Do we have a motion to continue the public hearing to December 6th?
So moved.
Do we have a
Second.
second? Okay. All those in favor, say aye. Pete?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
TJ?
Aye.
Diane?
Yes,
And the chair votes aye. Okay, Josh, thank you. We look forward to seeing you. And I've not been in this part of town, especially behind Old Town Hill like this, so I'm looking forward to this.
Great, thanks. Look forward to it too.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. Sam, what else do we have?
All right. Oh boy, that was all of our public hearings. I was not expecting that.
8:27. Everyone should get a little pat in the back. We've been very, very efficient tonight.
So the only thing that we really have left is, so at our last meeting, we briefly discussed a potential revision of or revisiting our meeting schedule. I did a whole bunch of research last week that I'm very proud of, showing you my nice little spreadsheet that I made. So I looked at all of the town boards in Newbury. I also looked at other town conservation commissions and what their schedules were like. Ultimately, it came out to, if there is a desire to change the day of the week that we meet, which I would be 100% on board with that. Mondays and Thursdays look like the best options. Mondays seem to be more preferable. There's very, very few people who meet on Mondays in town and outside of town. So Mondays seem to be the best. The biggest issue with conflict would be with holidays, because most of our holidays are either actual or observed on Mondays, but I work very hard to set up a meeting schedule to avoid those conflicts. One thing that, or another thing that we talked about in particular was slimming down the number of meetings a year that we have. So I had made the suggestion of going to a 3-week rotation. My main concern with a 3-week rotation is that opens up a lot more possibility for us to conflict with, whether it's Monday or Thursday or Tuesdays. That opens a lot of possibility for us to conflict with other boards. So if we decided to change the day of the week that we meet, Mondays and Thursdays, the 2nd and 4th seem to be the best for both of those days of the week. One thing that I did notice is that both Rowley and Haverhill have a very interesting meeting schedule. So they are set up so that they meet every other month. They alternate. In 1 month, they'll meet on the 1st and 4th day of the 1st and 4th week. And then the following month, they'll only meet on the 2nd week of the month. So that would take us down, similarly to the 3-week schedule, that would bring us down to 18 meetings a year as opposed to 24. Plus, it will help to, having that set up with having specific weeks of the month that we would meet would be a lot easier for people to follow. It would be a lot easier for us to set up like the deadline dates and everything. It's a lot easier to coordinate the meetings doing that. When we discussed it last time, we had softly considered changing the time that we meet, but Mary noted that she would have a hard time meeting anytime before 6:30. It seems like keeping the meetings at 7 is probably the best option. But yeah, those were the kind of things that I came up with. I think that if we decided to change things up drastically, shifting to a Monday night meetings and doing that alternating schedule with the second and fourth, and for Mondays, it would be easier to do second and fourth and then the third Monday of the month. That way we're not conflicting with, in particular, the Recreation Committee and the HR Board. The Recreation Committee would be the one that we would really have to worry about the most because they meet at 6. Most of the time, they don't meet for more than an hour, but on occasions that they do, we wouldn't want to have to deal with that conflict, especially when we get back to in-person meetings. And that's all I got.
Okay. So Sam, you mentioned at the last meeting that considering doing one meeting in November, one meeting in December, and one meeting in January because of the consolidation of holidays and travel.
Right, which is something that we could certainly incorporate into this schedule as well. If we set this up so that we were, say, doing between February and October, we did the alternating 2 meetings, 1 meeting, 2 meetings, 1 meeting, and then in November, December, and January, we just did 1. So ideally, we would set that up so that in October, we'd have 2. And then the following months, we'd only have 1. When we get back into February, we'd have 2 meetings.
Okay. I'm going to make a suggestion, Sam. Will you look at the January schedule and make a recommendation at the December 6th meeting, which meeting we may want to consider canceling? I think it gets too convoluted if we start trying to do every 3 weeks. And
yeah,
I think, Pete, I agree with you. If we meet every 2 weeks, keep the agenda light, and maybe slice out 1 month in the summer where we only meet 1 month, and then November, December, January, we that would between 24 and 18 is 20, where that would seem to be a pretty reasonable schedule and still afford, I think, our residents some flexibility of time.
And I think if just looking at the January meeting for next year, my best recommendation would be to cancel the second meeting. Potentially, we could move the meeting. I believe our first meeting in January will be on the 3rd, which I'm sure is going to be, I believe the 2nd is an observed holiday. We would be observing New Year's Day on Monday the 2nd. So the 3rd might be kind of a tough day for some people, having all the holidays and the weekend. So maybe to move the first move the meeting in January to the 2nd week and then cancel the 2nd meeting.
Wouldn't you just consider canceling the first meeting and keeping the 2nd meeting? Wouldn't that make more sense? Or
I guess my only concern about that is that if we're canceling the 2nd meeting in October and we went past the first meeting, or if we went past that 2nd week of January, we'd start getting into like 5 or 6 weeks between hearings, which is a little questionable.
okay, well, food for thought. We don't decide.
But I can definitely look into that. I'll look into that more before the meeting on the 6th. And
well, and again, what do you have coming in for applications? Is this historically a pretty quiet time?
Right now we don't have a whole lot. Like I said, today was the deadline for the meeting on the 6th for new submittals, and we haven't received anything. If I receive something tomorrow, I can probably muscle it in. We can definitely get the request for the legal ads out in time, because we set it as a 3-week deadline because of the holiday. So I could certainly muscle it in to have a new submittal for for the December 6th meeting, but right now we have nothing.
Okay.
So,
Well, why don't I stop there? Mary, what are your thoughts on all this?
I would say if you have something that comes in quickly for the December 6th, let's hear it then.
right.
We'll have a month in between meetings, so it would make sense to try to do that. And we also have continuances on the 6th that we already committed to, but yeah, skipping more than a month ordinarily would, be a problem, although, it may not be an issue right over the holiday break. So I don't have a problem with having the meeting on either the 3rd or the following week or whatever it was originally scheduled for. If you want to do one in January on the second week of January, that's fine with
Yeah,
me.
I mean,
I can do timing wise, I could do earlier. I don't know if people feel like that 7 o'clock works well, or they want to try to get done earlier. That would be fine with me too. So.
yeah, I mean, I think, you know what happens is just how traffic goes for all of us sometimes.
Yep.
It just, 7 o'clock seems to be,
Gives you a chance to have at least something to eat, so.
yeah, exactly. All right, so, Dan, what are your thoughts?
I'll go with the flow.
That's a team player. Pete, how about you? What do you?
I'm right behind Dan.
What a team. TJ, what are you thinking?
I will be away on January 3rd, so the 10th or the 17th, it doesn't matter to me, either one. But I'm fine with 7 o'clock as well too, so.
Okay. Diane, what are your thoughts?
I'm fine for January, whenever it is.
Hmm.
I don't
What-
mind that every 2 weeks because it keeps the agendas sort of small. I'm a little bit concerned that if we get into these meetings like once a month, that, they could go on for a very long period of time.
Yeah, I mean, much more than an hour and a half or 2 hours. It's the diminishing returns on our ability to address these things. I mean, I'll be honest. I think I would leave the January 3rd meeting, simply because it could be a very light agenda. Then we're not going more than 30 days, and cancel the second meeting. And in that fashion, we go back to meeting twice a week. But we can decide that. I think, give it some thought, and we'll think about it at the December 6th meeting. That sounds good to everybody.
Yep. Don't like Thursday nights for meetings.
Yeah, Thursday nights would be very difficult, I think. There are a few other places that meet Thursday nights. The ZBA meets on Thursdays. I think
Yeah.
I wouldn't really love meeting on Thursdays. It's the end of my week, so.
Well, Tuesday's your long night anyway, Sam, right?
Right, which is why I'm really on board for changing the night of the week that we meet.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Well, listen. Let's.
Because being here for 14 hours is exhausting.
No, I can imagine. Well, listen. Let's just give it some thought. Like, as we kind of discussed, we're not going to make any radical decisions. We'll think about it in March, and if we decide to change the cycle of meeting and the night of the week, it'll be for the new fiscal year and July 1. But all right, I don't have anything else. Does anyone else? Let me go around the board. Mary, any words of wisdom you want to add before we adjourn?
I got nothing, sorry.
Okay. Pete, how about yourself?
I'm smooth.
Okay. Diane?
No.
Dan?
Nothing for me.
TJ?
All set.
I have nothing. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
All right. All in favor? Mary?
Yes.
Pete?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
DJ?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Good night, everybody. It is
Thanks, Bob.
8:40.
8:40.
8:40.
We got a lot done. See you all on the site visit. Thank you.
Bye.